Hello again, everybody. This is Derek, aka Mr. Everything, and I am coming back at you with some more Harn material. This is my second video, which is character creation. We're going to make a character on screen today using Harnmaster, 3rd edition. Okay, so this character creation process using Harnmaster, I'm using Roll20 and I'm using a character sheet, the standard 3rd edition Harn character sheet. I noticed there was 2, and this is the one that I prefer to use. It comes out looking a lot like this. I don't remember exactly who the author of this character sheet is, but I've tried both of them and I actually prefer this one. That could just be me. Okay, so we're also going to be using the 3rd edition rulebook right here in PDF form. So instead of having a book in my hand with a bunch of players in front of me, we're going to do it on screen, which might slow or speed up the process. We'll see. I am going to stop and discuss certain decisions that I make while making this character. So it might take longer than what it would take for you as a game master or as a player to make a character for your for the campaign that you're playing in, because I'm not going to be rushing through or just rolling and writing and rolling and writing. I'm going to actually stop and talk about each of my results and what I'm doing, why I'm doing it. So you can consider this kind of like a tutorial on how to make a character, but it's also my way of making characters. So you just have to take that with a grain of salt as well. Okay, and I am going to be making a character called a Knight of, well, I have A, but it's this Knight of Caldor. Basically, I need a bunch of NPCs, and I just want to make this one. I was going to make this one anyway, so I figured why not do it on camera for you guys to see. And I'll be basically just taking this. I'll be giving him a name and everything, but for now, I'm just going to call him Knight of Caldor, and he's going to be integrated into my campaign. Who knows when the party might meet him? You know, it's one of these kind of deals. Also, there's alternate ways of making characters, and in today's, okay, let's talk about that just for a second. There's a point buy system where you can give your players eight a stat. Okay, these attributes right here in the middle are, I don't know, can I make my arrow bigger? I don't think I can, but you'll just have to see it. Actually, with Windows, I should be able to make my arrow bigger, but all right, so I made my pointer a little bit bigger just so that you guys can see exactly where it is and not actually get it lost on the screen. Okay, so these stats in the middle here are your primary stats, and you can roll 3d6 for the majority of those, but I plan to allow my players, and this is an NPC, so I'm not going to be doing this for this Knight of Caldor. I'm just going to roll him straight up, right? Just straight out of the book. But there's an alternative way to do it where you roll for players, because they're supposed to be heroic, a little bit better than your average everyday Joe. You're going to roll 4 dice and drop the lowest. So you're going to have a it'll wind up being 3d6 per stat, just like normal, but they get to discard the lowest. And there's an alternate system where it's a point buy system. where you put 8 in your stats, and then you take the points that you have available and you apply them to your stats, raising your stats the way you want. Now, I find the point buy system is very balanced. Everybody will have the exact same number of points, but it doesn't lend characters. Let me rephrase that. I think that it lends towards abuse. So somebody might put an 18 in strength, and then they'll leave their comeliness at 8 because, dump stat versus incredibly important stat. And you don't want your characters to min max, right? Or at least I don't. So I don't plan to use the point buy system. I do plan to give them a little bit of an edge. So I'm going to do the 4d6, drop the lowest. And then the other system is just to let them roll 3 dice and suck it up. Well, that's what we're going to do in today's character, the Knight of Caldor. We're going to just roll some dice, and he's going to suck it up. Okay, so with the PDF here, in read mode, I should be able. There we go. We can go by pages. We skip that, 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 skip that. Okay. Right here it says generating characters. It shows that there are 7 steps. There's a lot more than just this. This is like a general overview. This says I tell the players which rules we're going to use. We generate information, then we generate parents, then we figure out our skills, then we buy equipment, we determine our contacts, and veteran optional. Well, guess what? That's incredibly vague, right? So hopefully I can help you out. And right here where it talks about, now remember, the way Harnmaster is set up is the official rules are in the main text area, where everything in the sidebar is usually an optional rule, or it's just an example, or like a breakdown of the specific rules and just highlighted points, basically. Now, under this, where it says character software, there is a free piece of software that you can pick up from Columbia Games for Harn that will help you make characters as well. But I find that to be a little more complicated, and that would be really good if you're doing a pen and paper game, because you can make the character and print it out. Where in Roll20, you pretty much have it's just as easy to do it in Roll20 is what I'm thinking. And plus, with Roll20, you'll be able to manage your die rolls and everything else. So, like when you're in the game. Okay. All right. So the very first, now you'll see that they have what's called articles. Articles are a little bit different than what you might consider a chapter, because originally these articles were released separately, and then so each article was originally, because this game has been around for about 40 years now, was originally released in bite-sized chunks, but today I'm going to call them a chapter, and this chapter is the character chapter, and this is the second page of characters, even though, as you notice, we've already gone through 8 pages in the book. Yeah. Okay. So let's go on. So some of this, I'm gonna tell the players without having them needing to roll, right? So let me check something. Because every time I click on Roll20, my PDF gets pushed to the back. And I want it to stay to the front. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll use the Harnmaster rulebook that I actually have in my roll 20 so that um, it won't, like when I click on roll 20, this won't disappear on me. Okay, character 2. So the race of my players, you can roll percentile right here, but because this is a Knight of Caldor, he's actually going to be human. So you just type in human. And then if you want them to be a male or a female, or you want to randomly decide if they're male or female, you can roll. And then what you'll see here, Sindarin. Sindar is the elf races, and then Kuzdul is the dwarf race. So you have elves and dwarves as options. But like it says here, novice PCs should be human because the different worldviews of the Sindarin and Kuzdul make them difficult to role play. So what they're trying to say there is, don't just play a dwarf character because you think dwarves are cool, but then you wind up playing them like a short human being, right? Because dwarves have a totally different outlook on life and philosophy and everything. So you would have to try to get into the mind of the dwarf, right? Same thing with the elf. The elf would be completely alien to a dwarf or a human. They have totally different philosophies and mentalities and stuff like that. But I'm playing a human centric campaign, and Caldor is pretty much human centric, so we're going to call him a human male. Okay, there are other races that, and as a DM, you can introduce any race you want. If you want to have halflings, you can. If you want to have dragonborn or tieflings, you can introduce any of those. You would just need to come up with your own modifiers if you want, right? Okay. I would avoid it. I would not do that because then you're not really playing Harn. You're playing some other game, some unmentionable game. Okay, so birth date. It's your standard 12 months. So what we'll do is we'll roll a 12-sided die, and I roll a 1. So this guy is born in Nuziel, right? Or the first month of the year, first month of spring. So I'm going to put 1, and I'm going to put Nuz Eel. Okay. Because Y's are pronounced as 2 E's. So Nuz-E-Ale. Nuziel. And then I roll a D30, right? I didn't mean to bring up the advanced dice roller. I'm going to type in /R for roll 1D30. And I got a 12. So I was born on the 12th. Okay, 12th of Nuziel. Now, because of your, okay, I think this is kind of funny. You're going to get this through character creation, so it might slow the video down, but 30 days is in Halan, Savour, Colleen, and Lorraine. So if you look at those months, they have 30 days, and all the rest have 30 as well. uh, can you remember this? Yeah. So basically, and this is the Harn calendar. You have 12 months. Every month has exactly 30 days. There's no 31. There's no 28s. Nothing like that. Okay, so now you have to figure out where do you fall in. Pinu is the second month, and it looks like my character was born, or this character was born on the 12th. So it was between the 4th of Nuziel and the 3rd of Punu, right? So he falls into this range. So your sun sign is Ulandis. So, oh, and it's already selected right there. But you have a drop down you can pick. Ulandis. sun signs are basically like your birth gem or your birth, it's a symbol of your birth or whatever. But in the game, and in character creation, your sun sign will actually affect your skills. Okay, so pretty straightforward. Now, birthplace. It says the GM can assign you a birthplace, but I have uploaded a list of character creation things that I think will be needed, or it's behind my picture actually, uh, that I think will be needed to create characters. So I picked a Caldor birthplace. I made a little chart here. I copied and pasted it from the PDF. And what we'll do is we'll roll a D100 and it should get me a locale. And I rolled a 36. So a 36 is I was born in Cologne. Okay, and you'll notice on this character sheet, it has it right there. Not everything generated in your character creation steps are located on this character sheet. But that's okay, because if you go to inventory and scroll all the way to the bottom, you have a notes section that you can use. Now, we're not going to use legacy armor. Right. And we're not going to use spells, rituals, psionics. Okay, get rid of all that. In the settings, I get rid of hide armor from the legacy. Okay, I got that checked. And show horse on sheet, we're going to take that off. And yeah, okay, we're going to leave that like that. Perfect. Okay, so that was the birthplace. That's a location on the Caldor map. If you want to look that up, you can find that. That's no problem. That was birthplace right here. Then there's culture. Well, Caldor is feudal, so you're from a feudal culture. And then when you go down to social class, you're going to roll right here percentile dice on the feudal chart. But because we're making a knight, I'm not going to roll percentile. You notice noble is only 2%. It's 99 or 100. But this guy got lucky enough to roll that. So we're going to make him a noble. Okay, because most people are going to be between serf and ungilded, right? 16 to 93. That would be your normal die roll, but I recommend it's chosen by the game master, right? This is a social class characters, how you want to run your game. I personally want them to be all nobles so that they can be embroiled in the politics of the world. If you're a farmer, you really don't care which noble is vying for the throne. Okay, sorry, getting distracted. Let's keep going. Sibling rank. Okay, now this is important. So let's go ahead and roll a percentile die, giving me a 14, and a 14 makes him the eldest son. Okay. That's good. This guy's going to be all right. Now, you would normally you roll to see your relationship to your parents. So the first is in bold. So we roll that, and I got a 40, and a 40 puts me at offspring. Okay, so then offspring is the only one that you roll again to see exactly. And I rolled a 38. So if you go up here, 38, both parents are alive. Okay. Both alive. Okay. And then it talks about giving you the information. Notice how I'm not really using a whole lot of information off the sidebar here. That is information you'll need, but just not for this character. Moving on, estrangement. Okay, this is a how you're treated by your family, or like if you're in a tribe, like if you're a barbaric type character, you might have a tribe and you're treated by that. But this, because he's a noble and he comes from a noble house, you roll estrangement to see how they treat him. And if you're the eldest, and this is where this table comes in, it's in the sidebar. The eldest child adds 5 when generating estrangement. Okay, so we roll percentile and add 5. And so I have a 70 plus 5, 75. It puts me right here in popular. Okay, so estrangement, I just put popular. Now, if you wanted to put 75 popular, that would be fine, because that would kind of give you, are you more popular than someone that rolled a 70? Just whatever your GM needs. That basically lets you know how your family treats you, right? Okay. Then the next one here is clan head. You notice we haven't even got to the stats yet. We're basically working through your background. Okay, so clan head. Clan head means your relationship distance-wise from whoever is in charge. And so we roll percentile. I rolled a 30, and there's no modifiers. Okay, so I rolled a 30, so we come down here, distant relation. Okay, now this is a special rule where if you roll a distant relation, what that means is you're not directly related to the clan head. So now you have to roll to see how close your father was to the clan head. And so you roll another percentile. And because I continued to roll distant relation, now I roll to see how close my grandfather was to the clan head. And we roll again. And I rolled a 64. So my grandfather is the aunt or uncle. I guess a grandfather would be an uncle. Uncle. So under clan head, I would go grandfather, uncle. Okay, so that lets you know, like on a family tree, how far removed you are from being the clan head. Okay, you've got other, and that's if your GM wants to generate your entire family tree, you'll know exactly where you place, and that's important for noble characters. Maybe not so much on a farmer. Okay, we're going to continue on. Okay, now we're starting to get into some meat and potatoes right here. And now we're looking over here in this section of the character sheet. You have human, Sindarin, and Kuzdal. We already know what those are. Elves and dwarves and humans. They have a base height, either male or female. And then you roll the dice and add them up. And that's how many inches you are. So we're going to go with a 4d6. Right? And I rolled a 17. So a 17 plus 54. Now, if you look at the modifiers, a noble gets +2. Now, an Avinian, which is basically your Nordic barbarians, they get +1. And then urban poor, that would be like, I don't know, a sewer urchin or something, might get a -2 or whatever. But we didn't roll any of that. Plus, we're noble. So basically, we start with 56, and then we add 17. So So check this out. I have this already set up, already prepared. I pull up a calculator. This is my Windows calculator, and I've got this little dock button right here. Boop. And that's why I put my picture a little bit lower so you can see my calculator. So we click on the calculator. The calculator will be needed throughout character creation. I strongly recommend having it ready to go. 100%. You're going to need a calculator. Mainly just for quick math. 17 plus 56. I'm 73 inches tall. Okay, so I'm going to note this down as 73 inches and not 6'1". Okay, mainly because when we get into the weight. Now, afterwards, when you're fiddle farting around with your character sheet, if you want to change it back to 6'1", that's perfectly fine. All right, so now we have to determine frame. Frame will affect your strength and agility. Wait. Frame modifies the character's weight, which in turn will affect your strength and agility modifications. Okay, so when we roll for our agility, depending on what your frame is, you're going to get a minus or a plus. But let's look at the frame here. You have human females of a -3. Sindarans are very thin and lie and very, well, let's just call it thin. So they'll get -2, where Kuzdul are like stout, beefy, muscular. They're going to get a +3 on their frame. Nobles have nothing to do with your frame. So let's just go ahead and roll a 3d6 with no modifiers. Okay, it looks like I rolled a 10. A 10 is a medium frame. So we go medium. Okay, medium is great because that means there's probably not going to be any modifiers. We come down here to weight. Weight is pretty weight is variable. Okay, because you eat a lot in one year, you might be heavier, you go on a diet, you lose weight. Okay, whatever, right? Okay. But the way the base weight shows is you take your 73 inches of height. So my base weight is 175. Now, this is optimum weight. Okay, optimum. You're not ever optimum, but this is just for the player, giving him a general idea of how much he should weigh to be in that weight class, right? And then you come down here, you see where it says scant, light, heavy, massive, medium, has no modifier. So 72 with medium would be 170. 72, medium, 170. But if you were massive, then you go with a 20% boost to that 170. So you would be adding 34. So you'd be 204 if you were massive. Now, can that weight go up and down? What I'm saying is, can you choose a weight that's up or down? You can, but as a starting character, I think it would be best, and as a GM, I think it would be best just to enforce this because some people might try to min-max it. Okay, so I'm 73 medium. I should be 175. So we go 175. Now, if you look over here at the character size and you go 175, that puts me at size 7. Okay, so what I do is you could put 175 and then maybe a 7. Okay, that's right. No parentheses, no dashes, no minuses. Okay, there we go. 175 minus 7. Okay, so what that's telling me is that my build is a size 7, right? See, this says you should use a dash, but this character sheet doesn't allow slashes. That lets me know that I can wear armor at a size 5 or a size 8. And it would fit. It wouldn't be too tight or too loose. Um, if you get somebody's armor that's like size 3, somebody that's 90 pounds, this guy that's 175 is just not going to be able to put it on. Okay, okay, great. Now we go to comeliness. It's physical attractiveness. It is 3 dice, and it looks like Sindarin get a +2 because they're a beautiful race. Okay, so you roll this, and a blammo. I rolled a 7. What's good about this is it's not a dump stat because you have no way to modify it. You can't go up or down or adjust it with any other characteristics. It can't be a dump stat. It's just a roll. Now, if you see this little checkbox on the character sheet, what that is indicating is, do you want to use this rule or not? You don't have to use these rules. These are optional rules. But because I am the optional kind of guy, I'm going to use this optional rule. Humans have a complexion. It is a percentile roll. You'll notice you rolled a lot of percentile dice. 47. A 47 falls into medium complexion. So we're going to go with medium. Now you'll see here where it says Nordic humans can use Kuzdal. And it says may use. You don't have to. So if you want to have more fair skin, you can, because less sun. Hair color. Let's roll. What did I roll? 88. Okay, I have blonde hair. Okay. Can't spell. And then we come down to blonde. Humans get a +5 if they had fair complexion. Well, I didn't. I'm medium. We come down here to eyes. Same thing. Fair and dark have modifiers, but I'm going to roll for eye color. This Knight of Caldor has hazel eyes. There we go. Move on to the next page. Okay, the next stat, and this is the easiest part of character creation, is rolling your stats. This whole section right here is the easiest part. The hard part comes to when you're talking about skills, because then there's a lot of math involved. Okay, so we get rid of that. Okay, so here we are. Strength, right? Now, Kuzdal get a +4 to their strength, and Sindarans get a +1 to their strength, right? So Sindarans are actually stronger than humans. And then depending on your weight, it says the roll for strength is modified by species and weight. If you look right here, the modifier for weight, I am 175, so I get a +2. So let's roll these 3 dice and add 2. Wow, I rolled an 8. So luckily, my strength is a 10. Now, as a game master, and this being... Okay, well, this is a character. This is not like an NPC class. This is an individual character. So I could have as low or as high on any of these stats. It won't matter. But when I start making like generic knight #1 or generic wolf or generic, orc, then I'm going to just assign the numbers that I feel should be in there. Or I could roll, whatever. But okay, so we got our strength, and then now we're going to roll. I'm sorry, I'm strength, but I say strength. We go with stamina. Same thing. Kuzdal and Sindars have a little bit more stamina than your average human. But in this case, it doesn't matter. We're just going to roll 3 dice. I got a 10, and I put a 10 in stamina. The way I plan to do it with my characters are they're going to roll their 7 primary stats it's right here, this key attributes. They're going to use the 4d6 method and drop the lowest, but only for these 7 stats, right? Which on this character sheet is conveniently laid out where it's the 6 stats on the left and will. So it's this L shape right here. All these other stats you can't fiddle fart around with. Now, I'm gonna do one additional step for my players that's not shown in here, but I'm gonna do it because I've done this in a lot of my different RPGs. I'm gonna let them roll. Notice how there's 7 stats there that are considered the key attributes. I'm gonna let them roll 4d6, drop the lowest, so 3 dice, but I'm going to let them do it 7 times. Record those 7 numbers and then apply their 7 numbers to where they want them. So if they want to have someone that's a little bit more dexterous, they can. If they want to have a character that's more intelligent, they can put their highest number in intelligence or willpower or stamina or strength, whatever. So they have a little bit more agency over their creation of their character. They're not stuck with the numbers. Now, I will say that sticking to the number that you roll does create some interesting role-playing opportunities, but it doesn't mean it's what you wanted to play. You might get shoehorned into playing an idiot and you had your heart set on playing a smart character, or you get shoehorned into playing somebody that has no strength and you wanted to be that guy that carries, the great sword into battle. And so I'm not going to force them to keep their stats. I'm going to let them roll the 7 dice, assign the 7 numbers the way they want. But for this character, this one that I'm making, he doesn't get that opportunity. Okay, so we go to Dex. Kuzdal and Sindars do get bonuses to Dex, believe it or not. Okay, so 3d6. I rolled an 8. So his Dex is only 8 because he's a human. Now, agility, he gets no modifier because he's not a Sindarin, and his body weight is not too heavy or too light. So he just goes with agility. And I rolled a 9. Okay, now the difference between Dex and agility. Dexterity is your hands. This is dexterous. Your body, your entire being, that is agility. So if you're trying to dodge a blow or, avoid a trap or something like that, that is agility, how agile you are. Now, if you're trying to manipulate small items, pick a lock, or maybe write in cursive or something that involves your hand, build a model kit, that's dexterity. Okay, so we got our dexterity and we have our agility. Now the next 3 are, you don't really see a whole lot of these in RPGs, or at least I don't. Eyesight. You roll to see how good your eyes are, right? And this guy's got a pretty good eyesight. He's got a 14. This is not one of the 7 that you would get to drop. Hearing, 3d6. Why? Because they don't consider this to be a primary stat. This is kind of a secondary stat. And then, so he's got an average hearing. It's an 8, but it's below average. And then smell. And you notice Sindars, Kuzdals all get pluses. And also tribesmen. So if you come from a village of crazy people. Okay, so we go with 3d6. Everything is 3d6. I rolled a 13. So he's got really good eyesight and really good smell. His hearing's not so good. Maybe he's been hit upside the head by his superior one too many times. Okay, so these all come into play when you're trying to look at your awareness on how aware you are of your surroundings. Your GM might say, I need you to make an eyesight roll, or I need you to make a hearing roll or a smell roll based on the type of perception he's trying to get you to roll. But they all roll into this skill right here called awareness. We'll get into the skills here in a minute and how that's generated, which is kind of a hurdle for some people to get beyond. Okay, so voice. Voice, this is not a roll here. This is just an interpretation of whatever you did roll. So I'm going to roll my 3d6. I get no modifiers because I'm not a Sindarin. I've got a 12 voice. Okay, that's how smooth, how sexy your voice is, how melodic it is. So if you're singing or talking to people, stuff like that, your voice will be modified. Will be a modifier. So a 12 is I've got an average voice. Okay. I think that's nope. I got, still have willpower. Okay, so medical is really an option. This is up to the game master if he wants to allow this. This is a lot like if you remember that old role-playing system called Champions or GURPS, where you could take disadvantages on your character, penalties to your character to give you more points to spend on other things. So you could take. I'm going to use Champions as an example. You have Xavier. You know, he's paralyzed from the waist down, but that gives him extra points for his mental abilities. So in this case, you would roll for a medical issue, and you could have one leg is missing, or you could have leprosy, or you could have something as simple as scars, or one ear is missing, or an arm. But then you could also be ambidextrous. Very rare that you're going to be ambidextrous. And what does that do? It gives you an extra 1d3 dexterity. So you might be risking an addiction, or plus there's lycanthropy, right? But you're risking all of these problems for 2 points, and 2 points is at the start of a character creation. It's not really that many points. So as a DM, I would like to say that I'm going to allow my players to roll on this chart, but I'm not. I'm not gonna bother with it. And that's why there's that box right there, making it optional. We're not going to do that. Because there's too many negatives, and your character could be useless in the campaign if you just roll the wrong thing. Okay, so we're going to move on. So we have personality attributes. You notice we didn't roll intelligence or aura, which are right here. Now, so I rolled a 12 for intelligence. Okay. And then we're going to roll for aura. They believe that all living beings have an aura about them, right? It's your spirit. It's your it's where like psionics and magic come from. So now human females get a +2, Sindarans get a plus, and Kuzdal get a minus. But because I'm a human male, we're going to go 3 dice. We got a 12. Okay, you'll notice there is a number in... Nope, I didn't do will yet. Okay, will. Kuzdal are very stubborn, so they're going to get a plus. It's your tenacity or patience. If you have a low will, you'll lack confidence, you panic easily. But with your high will, you're confident and stubborn. But let's see what this guy's will is. It is a 10. So he's straight up, just kind of just glancing at this character. There's nothing that stands out like making him super good or super bad. And there's a spot over here called mental and physical. There is a chart very similar uh, to the physical chart that, remember the medical issues. There's another one that's for like psyche, mental problems, and we're not going to use those. So these are two blocks on this character sheet that the player can use as a small notepad because I'm not using it. Okay, so we come over here to morality. This is something that players choose. This is not a die roll. I know it says or 3d6. Well, players will choose, but my character is going to roll 3 dice because he's not a player. And guess what? I rolled a 10. So we go here with morality is a 10. And if you're curious on what a 10 morality is, you can look right here. And this basically says that the low numbers are diabolical. They're basically, it's like a scale from 3 to 18 alignment. You know, you're familiar with like chaotic evil, lawful evil, neutral, good, lawful good, and then something beyond lawful good, right? It's like double law, like, or double good, or whatever they call it, exemplary. So actually, a couple of these might be considered neutral, but it basically is a scale of how evil, or you can look at it this way, it's a scale of how good you are. Okay, and I rolled a 10, which puts me into the corruptible area, a moral chameleon who probably ascribes to some kind of ethical code, knighthood, but will do almost anything for pleasure or profit. So basically, he abides by his code of knighthood, but if he can skirt around and maybe get an angle or something, he will. Okay. He'll bend or break the rules, and he has little regard for moral consequences. So this knight is not your not uh, your typical Hollywood knight of the round table. This is more of a real human that is probably a knight in the Middle Ages and is using his status to get by, to get additional favors and things like that. Yeah. So see, that tells a lot about your character. But now a player would not roll. He would just decide what your morality is, and you can go from 3 to 18, right? I would recommend my players not to go below 8, and because I'm not running a campaign of a bunch of villains. Okay, and here's the psyche thing that I was talking about, where it's a mental disorder. You can roll mental disorders, but you'll notice that that's got a big block next to it saying it's optional. And for me, I'm not using it. I will give somebody phobias or mental disorders in the game. I might even give them to NPCs like this guy that I'm making right here. I don't see a problem with giving him a role, right? Option 1 is reward players with 3 points, which they can add to attributes, except will. I think I'm going to do that option. So let's roll percentile, and I'm going to add 3 to my stats. I rolled a 92, so I have no mental disorders. I got over lucky, right? So none, but I get to add 3 to my stats. Well, guess what? I'm going to go 2 on agility. and 1 on strength. There we go. Got some 11s. Okay, and then there's sexuality. If you don't know if you're heterosexual or bisexual or homosexual, uh, you can roll. Or if you want to challenge yourself with some additional biases, you can do that. Or you could just choose, right? Because it says choose. And I'm not going to really, I don't really care. But if the players want, they can do it. I don't care. Moving on. Okay. Deities. This guy is going to worship Lorraine, right? So I'm going to put under his, I don't, maybe it's under inventory. Nope, I don't see it. I saw it on one character and then I don't see it on another. Oh, maybe it's right here, ritual skills. I'm just going to go ahead and add, please enter a number. Okay, we're going to take that down and I'm going to put physical size 7 over there. That way, that works good. Okay, but deities. You don't have to worship a god, but the gods in Harn are very important culturally. They're prevalent in all the society. Every city's got some monk, priest, bishop, archbishop, something that runs the church in those towns. And if you want, you can have a godless character, but that would be strange, right? That would be, you would be outcast or shunned. You would be excommunicated or maybe even strung up, right? Now, these are the 10 gods, and we'll go into what each god is in a future video. I plan to do a religious video that talks about making a cleric character, but also the different gods and what they all stand for. But what this is basically telling you here, and this is really all only thing you need to know, is whichever god that you choose, you have to have a morality in between these numbers. And luckily, I decided to choose Lorani because in Kaldor, there's really only 2 that are approved, and that's Lorani and Peony, and they both have an 8 to 18, right? And so they would, yes, you can have a 7 or below and still be a Lorani worshiper, but you don't, at that point you wouldn't believe what she has to say, or you would constantly be violating the strictures or something like that. But luckily I rolled a 10, so I fit within Lorani's ideals. So I'm going to put it right there under ritual. It just basically lets me know that that I worship Lorani. Okay, great. Now there's piety. Piety right here lets you know it's 5d6. Okay. Go ahead and roll. What am I doing? Why didn't that pop up? Okay, 5d6. I rolled low. I've got an 11. Okay, so far so good. All right, so generating these stats, I would consider that to be part 1 of making a character. Now, we are almost an hour into this video, and I don't want these videos that I make to go much longer than an hour. I expected this video to go about 2 hours. Um, so I'm going to break it here. I'm going to split it in half, and I'm going to record the second half like immediately, but I'm going to let you take it in as a bite-sized chunk. Because after you generate piety, you are ready to go into your character's background, your parents' background, and then skills that you choose. Um, and what we'll do is we'll do all of that in the next video. So thank you for coming out and taking this journey with me on my Harn experience, where I learn the rules but also teach the rules at the same time. So I'm learning by teaching, and or what do some people say, learn by doing. And if this is helping you understand the Harn universe, then let me know. Put a comment in the comments, and like and subscribe to the channel. And I plan to do more videos like not only the occupations and the skills, part of character creation, but also equipping armor and weapons. That's good. That's probably going to be a third video on character creation, is the equipping the character. And then I'm going to do a totally separate video about cleric type characters, or religions, the 10 gods, which actually there's more than 10 religions, because you could consider each god having multiple religions around that god. So, but that's a topic of another video. And then I'm also going to talk about magic users and wizards, and how they can interact in your game if you want to allow wizards or magic users in your campaigns. And then we'll talk a little bit about like monsters, but not so much. I don't want to have any spoilers, and every DM likes to run their monsters a little bit differently, and that's not really a tutorial. But I will show combat, and the combat that I show will be human on human interaction, but you can extrapolate that to the monsters. Talk about all the different actions and how combat works in this system, which I'm going to tell you right now, some people think it's slow and monotonous, and I'm not going to disagree with that. It is kind of slow, but it's I'm gonna back up and say it's slower than a combat system that has no feelings, right? So I'm going to use D&D as an example throughout all of these videos. A D&D combat. Now, like, I just had a D&D game tonight. It's one of my final D&D campaigns that I'm running. We had a D&D combat where there was a bunch of warriors fighting the party, and about 5 or 6 of them, and it went, I attack. Okay, great. Next person, I attack. Okay, great. You hit, you do some damage, mark off hit points. Okay, I attack. Okay, you didn't hit the armor class, so you missed. Okay, now I attack, and I'm going to thrust with my spear. I'm going to roll some dice, and I'm going to do some damage. And we went through the combat rounds until the one side or the other lost all their hit points, and they were down. And then the remaining players licked their wounds and brought their fellows back to life or whatever. It was very vanilla, right? So D&D is not a game of details, and Harn is. So when we get into combat, just a simple and you'll see a simple interaction between one fighter against another fighter, a knight versus a knight or whatever, is going to take a little bit of time to resolve. but there's so much more detail, so much more cinematic action, so much more um, things going on in the campaign in the fight. So if that's what you want, if you want the combat to be like the 300, you know, where you've got it's very super cinematic, where you know exactly what's going on, and it might be played around in slow motion or whatever. That's what you get in Harn, not this, um, not this Hollywood sword fight from like the D&D movie or whatever, which is very accurate to the D&D role playing game. It's very right? Okay. But we'll get into that, right? And then we'll also talk about the kingdoms and politics and stuff like that, and whatever other topics that I feel that we need to talk about, I will. But mainly, this is going to be character creation in all of its aspects, multiple videos probably, uh, religion, maybe multiple videos. I might do one video per god, it's possible. And then uh, combat. I'm going to do that before religion, probably. Uh, Combat to show exactly how combat works. And then we'll do magic. And I'll show magic and how that works. And then maybe talk about a couple of the different monsters that are pretty common and so wouldn't be a spoiler to talk about them. And then we'll probably talk about the different kingdoms. Uh, and remember, I'm fairly new to Harn myself. So as I learn and as I discover new aspects of Harn, I'll be revealing or planning other videos to continue it. Okay, so let me get off this video right here, and then what we'll do is we'll start another video where I continue working on the Knight of Caldor. All right, I'll catch you in the next one.